A shocking case of medical negligence has come to light from Kerala's Kozhikode district, where a chief orthopedic surgeon allegedly conducted a botched up surgery on a 60-year-old patient. The patient's family alleges that the doctor conducted surgery on the right leg instead of the left leg, which was supposed to be treated. The surgeon reportedly first admitted to the negligence, but later hospital authorities, in a damage control measure, retracted that statement, saying that the woman was suffering from Achilles tendon rupture and both legs were impacted. Refuting medical negligence, hospital says that there was no lapse on the part of the doctors as far as the treatment is concerned. Let's first listen in to the version of the patient.
തിങ്കളാഴ്ച അഡ്മിറ്റ് ആയപ്പോൾ ഈ കാലാണ് എല്ലാം വാഷ് ചെയ്തതുമല്ലോ വൃത്തിയാക്കണ്ടേ എല്ലാം വൃത്തിയാക്കി എല്ലാം പോയി അവിടെ പോയി നോക്കി എനിക്ക് അനസ്തേഷ്യ എനിക്കൊന്നും അറിയില്ലല്ലോ ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് റൂമിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോയി കിടത്തിയപ്പോൾ ലേശം ഓർമ്മ ഈ കാല് ഭയങ്കര വെയിറ്റ് വലത്തെ കാല് അപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് എത്ര ഓർമ്മക്കേടായാലും എൻ്റെ കാലിത് ഇതിനെല്ലാം ഞാൻ ഇത്രയും ടെൻഷൻ അടിച്ച് ജീവിക്കുന്നത് എൻ്റെ കാല് പോയാൽ പോയില്ല ഞരവ് പൊട്ടി എന്തൊക്കെ സംഭവിക്കുമെന്ന് അറിയില്ലല്ലോ അങ്ങനെ അപ്പം ഞാൻ ഇതെന്താ ഇടത്തെ കാലിന് വേദനയില്ല ഇതിന് വേദന എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഞാൻ മെല്ലെ ഉറക്കത്തെണീക്കുന്ന പോലെ ഇതും പിടിച്ച് എണീറ്റതാണ് സിസ്റ്ററെ വരുമോ എന്ന് ചോദിച്ചപ്പോൾ സിസ്റ്റർ ഓടി വന്നു ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു ഇത് ഏത് കാരണമാണ് ചെയ്തത് ഇത് അയ്യോ ഇതിനല്ലല്ലോ ഇതല്ലേ ഒന്ന് ഡോക്ടറെ വിളിക്കുമോ ചോദിച്ചു ഡോക്ടർ വന്നു അപ്പോഴാണ് ഡോക്ടറെ എനിക്ക് തന്നെ മനസ്സിലാവുന്നു ഡോക്ടർക്ക് ഓർമ്മയില്ലാന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു.
The hospital has a different story to tell. I'm going across to my colleague Vivek Karindalam, who has reported on this story. Vivek, the patient is saying, I had discomfort in one leg, which had symptoms. That was not treated or no surgery done on that leg. The other leg was operated upon. Now, this is, from the version of the patient, sounds like a gross medical negligence. What does the hospital have to say? I believe they have released a statement on this.
Yes, Afrida, as we spoke, earlier, the hospital, that is the private hospital in Kozhikode, has released a statement on this, saying that the patient was suffering from Achilles tendon rupture, and both the legs had issues. And also the doctor, who has put out this release, had said that the patient and her husband had earlier said that they require treatment on both the legs, and that is the reason why the treatment has been conducted. Also, in the last paragraph, in the damage control measure, now the hospital has also said that the concerned doctor, the orthopedic surgeon, has an experience of 35 years, and he will not have botched up this case. But if you look at the version of the family members and also the patient himself, it clearly looks like there is something that has gone wrong, and that is the reason why the Health Minister Veena George has today asked the District Medical Officer of Kozhikode to conduct a detailed investigation on this particular incident.
Okay.
Remember, she has been under treatment for the last 1 year, and it was last Monday that the hospital authorities have said that there needs to be a surgery, and instead of the the left leg, the surgery was conducted on the right leg, and
Yes.
by the time the anesthesia, she was, she became conscious and she saw her leg. She was shocked. She called up the nurse, and then the doctor came in. When the doctor, it looks like the doctor has agreed to the mistake. That's what the family say. But later the hospital has come up with
Yes,
this.
but that is
release.
again what the patient says. So we are going with that version in terms of whether the doctor initially admitted to it or not. Thanks, Vivek, for joining us. Why this is important is because this is not an isolated incident. Medical negligence is a grave concern in this country in both public and private hospitals. Let me welcome our panelists this evening. Joining us here on the program is Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, chairperson of NEFRON, and Dr. Sulfi Nuhu, the State Secretary of IMA, joining us from Kerala chapter. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Dr. Bagai, like I said, why we cover these cases? Because we don't want any hospital to think that they can get away with this kind of a botched up surgery, because a lot of times the medical statement is loaded with jargon, and it is as if, it is so dense that a lot of people will not be able to wrap their heads around what happened. But in this case, my colleague is saying that there was an attempt to cover up. The doctor first admitted that it was indeed the wrong leg operated upon and later retracted the statement. But in the overall picture, Dr. Bagai, there's a larger malaise that we are addressing here.
Good evening. So I think just prima facie, just listening to these reports, although we don't have a privy to the exact medical details, there is a hint of suspicion. And having said that, I must add that 9 to 9.5% of overall misconducts are because of what we call as medical negligence worldwide. Now, when you come to this particular case, I think it will be premature to pronounce an inaccurate judgment in a hurry. There is a process which is to be followed, and if we don't follow the process, it dents and damages the doctor-patient relationship for ages to come. The process really is, if there is an allegation or complaint, the hospital administration is duty-bound to investigate it as a fair and neutral probe on an immediate basis. There are forums available such as the state medical forums, which are extremely stringent and they take cognizance of this in a very, very strict manner. And of course, there is a national and a district forum in which the complaints can go. But the important fact is that if the doctor is held guilty in a fair and independent probe, I will even go to the extent of saying the license can be temporarily or permanently revoked. But what we need to find in this particular case is, what were the preoperative orders? What did the MRI of the legs, both the legs, was it done on both the legs or just one leg show? What was the surgical details in terms of the papers in the hospital? What were the post-operative details? What is the status of the other leg? And the consent details. There has to be a signed consent which is with the knowledge of the patient. Now, unless until we don't have these, to pronounce a doctor as guilty will be premature. But again, I state that if any medical negligence is found, let it be dealt according to law, but let us wait for the report and not damage the doctor's reputation permanently, irreparably, before the independent conduction of the inquiry. Over to you.
Right, Dr. Bagai, since you raised the issue of what were, the reports before the surgery, because usually, something like this does not happen. Obviously, everything goes by procedure, and we do not expect a doctor, after having the reports operate on the wrong leg. But what is concerning here, Dr. Nuhu, is that there are enough number of cases of medical apathy, and we are putting out some of those cases. Unbelievable, incredible instances have also happened of, say, leaving behind a pair of scissors in the abdomen. And we are looking at a larger malaise here in terms of government hospitals. Such instances are even more. And most of the time the patients are left running from pillar to post, whereas private hospitals, and let's just call it out here, often have a target to meet, isn't it, when it comes to surgeries? And therefore, a lot of times surgeries are recommended even when there is no need for it. Doctors have a compulsion to deliver. Do you see this instance as an immediate outcome of that, as a case in point?
No. Actually, I cannot say that it's due to the such kind of compulsion happened here. Actually, grossly, when we look at it, it looks like as if there is some kind of negligence. We have to admit that, but definitely we have to conduct a detailed inquiry into it and then find out what has happened. But I don't think it is due to some kind of pressure from the management to do the surgery. Maybe that kind of thing is not happening. But definitely, it looks like
Are you saying that is not happening at all? Because this is a reality, isn't it? Let's not shy away from saying that there are targets that private hospitals have to meet, like any other corporates. That's a reality, isn't it?
No, I don't agree with that. There definitely the management and the hospital owners will always see that there is some profit from keeping a doctor with paying salary and all. But majority of the doctors, I will admit that the majority of the doctors will always say that you cannot pressurize us, to do procedures and admit patients and all. But definitely, if the doctor has to be popular and doctor, they will look all those things. But definitely, if someone says that you have to bring this much income to the hospital, majority of the doctors, they will refuse that. I know we cannot do that. There are exceptions always, but
Yeah. In this case, definitely we have to wait and watch. But at the moment, it looks like that there is some kind of mistake happened to the doctor. But what I have learned is I have looked into the issue, and I found that the both tendons, the both legs tendons were involved, but the patient was being prepared for the surgery on the other leg. And what we have to see that such kind of things never happens. We cannot justify other anything happens. The tendency in India is that it's the blame is on the doctor. If we support this thing, this kind of negligence or this kind of problem, there is no point. We cannot continuously support our fraternity. So mistake is a mistake. Whoever
Okay.
is
That's a fair point. Yes, that's a fair point, Dr. Nuhu. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Bagai, that's what I was coming to. Like, why not admit that, like any other professional, doctors are prone to errors as well. To err is human. Pilots, the most seasoned pilots, commit minor errors that has led to plane crashes. So, I'm saying that, if it's a case of human error, why is the hospital not coming out and admitting to it? Because what happens is, if you try to hush up, then again, it's the same, isn't it? If you do not treat a disease, it's going to fester. If there is an issue in this hospital, it must be addressed.
Yeah, so two parts to your question very quickly. First is human errors do occur. It will be a very naive and a foolish person to say that medical errors due to human errors don't occur. Our aim is to minimize it to the barest minimum or bring it down to zero. And therefore, there is what we call as a pre-operative checklist. There is a checklist in the operation theatre in which it includes allergies to latex, allergies to iodine, past medical history, drugs being taken, which leg, which part of the body. It is labeled, it is marked. Then it is cross-checked by the nursing staff, it is cross-checked by the team of surgeons, and only then it is proceeded upon. So if there is a lapse, yes, the hospital and the doctor should be held accountable. There has to be liability and accountability. But like I said, if there is no error, then we should not hang the doctor upside down before the inquiry is completed. There is a protocol which is to be followed in terms of a complaint, and I would request the hospital and the state government to adhere to that.
And a very fair point. Thank you so much, Dr. Bagai and Dr. Sulfi Nuhu, for joining us today, because I think we've got both the perspectives very clear. The government of the day does have a responsibility, whether it's a private or a public hospital, because people's lives are at stake. You're dealing with citizens, and there must be certain standard practices that are followed. Of course, in this case, we are yet to know what exactly happened. An inquiry has just been initiated. We'll track the details with our correspondents on ground. Thanks very much to both the doctors for joining us on the program. Let's take a short break.